Hello, my name is Mark Dan, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our webinar today titled Agronomic Analysis with ArcGIS and Ag-Analytics. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted in the next few days. And as a participant, you'll receive a follow-up email with a link to that recording. We would like to encourage you to enter any questions you have in the GoToWebinar questions dialog box as we go through the presentation today. We will answer as many questions as time permits towards the end of the session or follow up after the webinar if we run out of time. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Mark Dan. I'm a senior account executive with the agriculture team here at Esri, and I also own and operate a grain farm located here in Central Ohio. Joining me on the webinar today is Elvis DeCow from Esri, who's a solution engineer on the natural resources team, and he's located in San Antonio. Also joining me is Josh Woodward. He is the founder and CEO of Ag-Analytics. Ag-Analytics is an ESRI business partner that got started with our Esri startup program just a couple years ago. Ag-Analytics is building focused solutions to incorporate and analyze precision agronomic data in ArcGIS, which we'll be exploring today. In today's webinar, we'll be focused on bringing precision agronomic data into ArcGIS, and we'll review some examples of simple visualization and analysis that can be done to better understand our production practices and evaluate our business. And in that evaluation, are we being profitable? And most importantly, answer the question of where we can improve. So a quick review of the agenda to set the context for the webinar today. I'll be making some brief introductory comments. We'll look at the tools Ag-Analytics has been working on to make it easy to bring precision ag data into ArcGIS from a variety of different equipment platforms. We'll spend some time reviewing the visualization and simple analysis we can do with precision ag data in ArcGIS Pro. And then we'll have an opportunity to see the profit mapping tools Ag-Analytics has built to provide better business insight on agronomic data. We'll show how we can take the analysis outputs from Ag-Analytics on profit mapping and send that data to our mobile apps for ground truthing and further investigation of the data. To wrap up the webinar, we'll provide some closing thoughts, share some information on how to get started with the tools you see today, and have some time for question and answers. First, I'd like to share a brief introduction on who Esri is and what we do for those that aren't familiar with us. Esri is a software company headquartered in Redlands, California, and we build a mapping and spatial analytics platform. We enable organizations to get deeper insights from their geographic and dynamic data to improve operational and business results. Esri software is used by more than 350,000 organizations around the world. 75% of Fortune 500 companies use our platform every day. And approximately 30% of our revenue every year is put back into research and development, which is a significant amount within the technology sector. Customers use our software to address various challenges ranging from food and agriculture production, improving business operations and supply chain efficiency, responding to global humanitarian relief, and improving quality of life in cities and communities all over the world. To start things off, and for many in agribusiness, this conceptual diagram represents what the data landscape looks like for many organizations. Several different systems that generate data, oftentimes tremendous amounts of data, and that data could provide valuable insight for the organization. However, most of that data is in a siloed or standalone system and difficult to access or integrate with other data. In fact, it becomes very difficult for these organizations to get a holistic view of the organization's data in context of geography or location. ArcGIS as a technology at its very core solves these issues. It has been built as an integrated platform that enables organizations to take disparate data sources and build a system of record for spatial data. ArcGIS as a platform consists of ready-to-use desktop applications to create, manage, and perform analysis on data, and includes easy-to-configure web applications that can be deployed to provide simple-to-use applications to non-GIS users. We also provide mobile-ready applications that can be used to take your data to the field for visualization and improve data collection. At the heart of ArcGIS is our server technology, which is used to manage and distribute spatial data to the application tier I just mentioned. In addition to our server technology, customers have the option to leverage our ready-to-use online content and services found within the ArcGIS Living Atlas. The ArcGIS Living Atlas provides ready-to-consume authoritative data sources such as Surgo soils, weather, and imagery data sets that can be used in your analysis without having to download and curate that data locally. Of all these capabilities, however, the most important point that I want to make and point out is that ArcGIS gives you control of the ownership of data and how it's used. Esri is a software company. We manufacture ready-to-deploy enterprise software solutions. We have never taken ownership of anyone's data because they use our software. And I know this is an important issue that should be considered when selecting a system for many businesses, especially when they look at managing and analyzing their agronomic data. I would argue it's only going to become even a more important issue to consider in the future. Why? Well, my answer would be consider the increased interest by many corporations wanting to buy or trade carbon credits. They are doing this to ensure that they are meeting their net zero carbon footprint goals. Having data to document that a crop was grown and how much carbon was produced will depend on good documentation to support these multi-year contracts. Just like a landowner should give careful consideration to mineral rights to their land, farmers should give the same level of consideration to their precision ag data rights. Using a system that enables you to control who has access and how your data is used is only going to become more important in the future. Many systems used to manage and analyze precision ag data offer very specific and limited analysis capabilities. You get what's provided and that's it. With ArcGIS, we provide a tremendous amount of flexibility on the analysis that you can perform with your data. As I mentioned earlier, you control the ownership of the data and any analysis that you perform. However, it's not always been easy getting that data into ArcGIS, at least up until now. And I know Ag-Analytics has been doing a lot of work to make it easy to bring precision ag data into ArcGIS. And Josh, I'd like for maybe you to share with us a little bit about your company and the work that you're doing around this. Josh?
Excellent. Thanks, Mark, for the introduction. Again, Josh Woodard, founder and CEO of Ag-Analytics. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. First, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the background of our company. So we founded this company in 2018. It was actually a spinoff from Cornell University, where I was a professor, which is where we started some of these activities. And you can visit our website at profit.ag to check out the add-in that we're going to show you today. In a nutshell, so our platform is a farm analytics platform. We're integrated with John Deere Operations Center, Climate Field View, and CNH. And so we've processed through the years to date over 330 million acre years of precision ag farm data for our clients. We also maintain a extensive machine learning and AI infrastructure for analyzing those data in our platform for our users, and we also house hundreds of terabytes of satellite and other environmental data. The last thing I would mention about Ag-Analytics is we have a specialization in risk management. So we also have a lot of insurance tools for our growers to use. And actually, in the past, my background was actually in insurance markets, and we've developed a lot of products that are commonly used, like Trend APH and Dairy RP. We developed those with our partners. Here's a viewpoint, a snapshot of our global footprint. Ag-Analytics is a global platform. This add-in will work anywhere where you have precision data. On the right is a map of where we currently have satellite coverage as well in our system. And that'll be expanding even further soon. So But if you look on the left, this basically where you see these pins. These are locations where we have equipment that's been integrated with our platform. We work with a lot of different partners. Like Mark had mentioned, we are an Esri Emerging Business Partner, which has been a great experience for us, giving us an opportunity to pursue this partnership here. And so anyone who's starting a startup, by the way, I would highly recommend that. It's a great experience. We also work a lot with different grower associations and a lot of different university partners. So before I show you the add-in, I wanted to give you some background on why we built this add-in. Like, why build an Ag-Analytics ArcGIS Pro add-in? So we spend a lot of time talking with our users, and there's three primary things that we hear all the time. The first is around data accessibility. So they have data in lots of different formats across lots of different platforms, but they often can't touch the data. They can usually only see a picture of it in a web interface, which brings to the next point, which is around flexibility and what they can do with that data. So, all of these web tools are great, but you are locked into what that web tool is designed to do. So even our tool, which I love, there are certain things that it does and certain things that it does not do. And so what happens then is it leads to inefficient workflows for our users. So a lot of users, for example, we've talked to some people that say they used up to 15 different software tools and websites just to complete a single workflow, like generating a profit map. So what we wanted in this solution was the ability for the grower or whoever's working with the precision ag data to automatically download that data and harmonize it in ArcGIS Pro on their desktop to use as their system of record, and to allow the users basically to sync it directly. So basically what I'll show you, it basically turns ArcGIS Pro into a GIS web browser on steroids. It's really incredible. So on the flexibility, it then gives the user all of the tools they would generally have in a GIS platform, and also we have a ribbon that creates that allows them to use some customized tools that we've developed to really liberate their data. So this what the result is it can really streamline all of those workflows without all of the overhead that they usually have to go through. For those of you that are less familiar with these types of data, I just want to really quickly highlight what data we're talking about. So most modern farm equipment has sensors on it that measure everything from what's planted to what's harvested, moisture content, and it generates these high resolution images basically based on those sensor readings. But they come in formats that aren't typically readily available. So our platform, in our case, we're directly connected with John Deere Operations Center, Climate Field View, and CNH. So I want to show you the add-in and how it works. So basically in ArcGIS Pro, if you install the add-in, which you can get from our website at profit.ag, you'll see a tab here. And this tab has a few different instructions on it. So our goal here was to try to make it really simple. So we wanted to make it so that users could click integrate data and instantly go to a screen that would allow them to integrate their data. So for example, if I wanted to integrate my Climate Field View account, I can simply click here. Or if I want to integrate my John Deere account, you would click here, then you would log into your John Deere account. So what would happen is then you go back to the add-in, and by the way, the add-in is available from our website. And then you could go here to the manage data. So typically in these platforms, the data are organized by organization, farm, field, and then it shows the operation. So this is my account that I linked. So I'll pick Josh Woodard's operation. Here's a list of my farms. So I'll go to my demo farm that I set up, and then it pulls in my list of fields. So this would be the exact same thing that you would see if you were logged into your Precision Ag platform. So now it's checking and it's saying, okay, it's going to snap to my field, and I want to see if I have any operations. So I have a couple of seeding operations and a harvest operation here. So basically what I want to do is I want to bring that data in, right? So you can just click to download the data for that field. So that data is syncing now. So what's happening in the background is our system is basically tapping the authorized tractor data. It's bringing it in. It's processing it into a form that can be read by ArcGIS Pro. And you can see it's finished now. So data sync is finished. And so now we want to view our operation layers. We can just click a button and there you go. So all of our data has now loaded in And I want to stop just for a moment before I talk about the processing that we do to make this convenient for you to use the tools that we provide. And so what we just showed you, in less than 5 minutes, you were able to go from our website where you get the ad in, and typically you would only be able to see your data. Like, this is our website. You can see a picture of your data that you've integrated, but you want to be able to use it in ArcGIS Pro, and we showed how to bring that back into ArcGIS Pro, where you can touch and feel and do all of the things that you would do, which Elvis is going to show you in a moment. The only thing I want to mention here, and we'll come back to this when we show you how to build a profit map, is these data. We bring in both the vector data, which is kind of more the representation which you'd see directly off the tractor. You can see exactly where it went, where it drove. But we also process these into what are called rasters, which basically puts them on a common gridded basis. And this will come in handy when we want to do things like build profit maps, because we can align all of our layers. And I'll show you, you can also change the resolutions. We also bring in elevation data, seeding data, etc. So we'll come back to that. And Mark, I'll pass it back to you.
Thanks, Josh. I just really want to briefly highlight what you just showed there, because having gone through this process of getting data into ArcGIS myself for my own farm, it can be very difficult. And like I said, what you showed is very impressive. I mean, it's easy, it's fast, and quite frankly, it's a real game changer for so many Esri customers. So just to quickly review, I mean, you were able to directly connect with data integrations to the John Deere Operations Center, Climate Field View, or the Case NH data. Also, I believe you guys support the ADAP Precision Ag data file as well. You didn't show that in your demo there, but that's something you guys support as well. Is that correct, Josh?
It is. In the toolbar,
Yep.
There's an adapt tab, and you can basically upload, convert your adapt data so that they don't have to actually be in the cloud, which is a great aspect of the feature, because then you can mix and match data, not only say from your John Deere Operations Center and Climate, but also your own adapt data. So yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Yep. And just to reiterate, I mean, it's all securely downloaded to the ArcGIS system. So, for those folks that are concerned about the security side of things, that's all done very nicely and secure. And like I said, I mean, it performs and processes the data very efficiently. And I think everybody will agree it's super easy to use, which for a user like me, that's huge, and that's always important. So once we've brought that precision ag data into ArcGIS, it can be used to support an agribusiness in many ways across the enterprise, and supporting all types of users, including the GIS professionals that wants to do analysis and analytics on the data, to the management team through easy to configure dashboards, the field and knowledge workers, or engaging with constituents, whether those are internal constituents or customers. And next, I'd like to have Elvis show us some quick examples of how our desktop solutions, specifically in this case, ArcGIS Pro, can be used to visualize the data and perform some analysis on yield outcomes, such as looking at yields by variety and across multiple years. So Elvis, I'll pass things over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So get my screen on for you guys. Okay, thanks again, Mark. And so you just witnessed Josh show you how to seamlessly integrate data from a number of different manufacturer platforms directly into ArcGIS Pro. And that's what I've got up on my screen now. So you should be seeing basically a yield map, right? So Josh brings in that raw data, and I've created a simple yield map here that shows a couple of things, but more importantly, it shows where this particular crop has done well and where it has not done as well. And then we can also start creating some simple visualizations like this bar chart here on my right, which indicates, for this particular field for this given year, I've got a number of varieties, and I can see the sort of the average yield by variety for what's been grown in this particular field. So you can see that nice distribution. And if I were to mask out these 3 varieties here, now I can focus on this particular variety and I can see how it's done, in this field. And I think that's extremely, extremely powerful, because you now have this data at your fingertips to start to manipulate it and do these types of visual analysis. Looking at the raw data itself, I can see its actual distribution here in this histogram, and you can see just where the data sits relative to the mean for this entire field. And I think that's quite powerful. Just to drill down a little bit more here, we're going to go ahead and add sort of a distribution line, and then go ahead and turn on our standard deviation. So now you can start to see, parts of that data. I can highlight maybe things that are outside of the standard deviation, and you can see how powerful that is. So in terms of looking at where that distribution is on the map, and where those values fall relative to your average yield for that particular field. Extremely powerful what you can do there. But
Yeah.
moving.
Hey, Elvis,
Yes,
just real
go ahead,
quickly,
Mark.
I just want to kind of make a point there, because having gone through a lot of yield data and doing analysis on it, I just want to kind of make a point here. If you could go back and filter just to one variety, because I want to make something
Absolutely.
here
So I'm gonna mask out the other varieties, and
right.
now you've got that variety
So,
at the forefront.
it's common for people to look at kind of variety in the field like that. And when you do that, looking at spreadsheets or some other systems, you're going to get the yield as you've shown there on the graph, what the total yield was for that variety. In a lot of systems, what I don't get is I don't get the visual cue to see how did that variety do specifically in the field. Was that
Exactly.
variety consistent? Was it a good variety across the entire field, or did I have peaks where it did really, really well? And in this case, peaks that maybe it didn't do so well. So I may be able to look at that and say, you know what, man, if I either change the variety in that field and did split variety in that field, I might be able to improve my outcomes, or be able to see what I can do maybe in that part of the field to make some improvements to get a better return. So the point is that while that yield in that particular variety looks good, it could look a whole lot better by being able to drill into the data and not just look at that variety from an overall performance, but how did it do specifically in a specific location in that field, and using the location and the spatial analytics capabilities of it that so many other systems just don't have. So back to you, Elvis. I just wanted to...
Thank you for pointing that out, Mark. And just to highlight some of what Mark says, now I've turned on sort of my variety map here, so I can see these zones of where these varieties are grown. But additionally, I can click, on areas of concern, right? And then on my right here, I can see what the yield harvest is at that particular location, as well as the variety and then the crop. So, I could go around clicking on different areas here, and you get this pop-up visualization on the side telling you specifically what those values are. So that's quite powerful, taking things to that level. So additionally, let's say we want to just get a better understanding and maybe drill it even a little bit further. So we've created another visualization here that highlights multiple years. So now I'm looking at 2013 all the way through 2018, and the varietal breakdown as well, so you can see what the average yield is for those different years. But again, I can sort of mask out all the varieties except for this one here in particular, and I can see how it did for that particular year. So if I turn off some of these other years, and now we're focusing on just 2013, we can see that variety is done relatively well in that particular year. So again, it's adding a little bit more power to what we're able to see. And then maybe take that even a little step further, turn on all our years, and maybe we'd like to look at this in comparison, right? So just maybe swipe over 1 year and compare it to the next year. So we're looking at 2018 on the top compared to 2016. We can see those patterns and go back and forth. And take action, maybe go back into the field for the current year and look at these specific areas. So now I'm comparing 2018 to 2015, and as I swipe back and forth, you can see what that difference is. And I think the most stark difference here is when we look at 2018 relative to 2013 and focus on this area here at the top, you can see a lot of difference there over time. So just to reiterate, Josh allowed us to bring this data into ArcGIS Pro. Now we can get our hands on it. I just showed you very little of what you can potentially do with some of this analysis, but exciting times ahead for folks wanting to interrogate their data in ArcGIS Pro coming directly from machine manufacturers. Mark, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thanks, Elvis. So to quickly summarize what we just saw, ArcGIS Pro can provide powerful visualization and simple analysis on precision ag data brought in with the Ag-Analytics add-in for ArcGIS Pro. Now, we just showed a very small tip of the iceberg on the analysis and visualization capabilities of ArcGIS. In fact, once we have this type of data in the ArcGIS platform, the analysis capabilities are limitless, to be quite frank. In fact, within ArcGIS, we have many different spatial analytic capabilities to process and do analysis on agronomic data. These capabilities can be found across the entire stack of ArcGIS technology, including our desktop suite of tools, which we've been talking about here today, or our cloud SaaS offering, and our ability to integrate with other popular analytic platforms via Python notebooks and R. Next, we want to take a deeper dive into some of the tools within the Ag-Analytics add-in to create profit layers. And from a producer standpoint, profit layers are really important when evaluating agriculture production because it's not about the total yield being produced, it's about whether or not an operation is being profitable. And more importantly, what can be done to improve the profitability. However, to make profit mapping worthwhile, it needs to be easy to enter all the data in required and easy to perform the analysis. Josh, I'd like to turn things back over to you and have you share with us the work that you're doing to build profit layer mapping capabilities within ArcGIS Pro. Josh?
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, the next step in this, once you've integrated your data in, and Elvis had some really great analyses there, next step is, okay, how do I actually build a profit map? So I'll show you how we've built that into the toolbar. So for example, if you click the profit layer map, you'll see a tab pop open where we'll prepare and run our profit map. But I want to preview a couple things. So typically from precision ag data, you would get things like the yield, you would get the applied rate from the seeds. We also have some tools here to bring in things like satellite data and elevation data so that you can compare those layers together. And so what's kind of interesting here at this field is you can see, clearly this is the slope, for example, from the elevation file. And you can see that some of these contours that you would notice in the patterns of the yield data, clearly follow the topography of the field. It looks like the variable rate strategy here was also kind of roughly impacted by that, as well as soil types on the field. But to really know how well that's working for you, you want to boil it down into dollars and cents. So which means getting a profit map. So how do we build a profit map? So first I'm going to pick the files that I want to include. So I'll pick my yield raster, for example. We have it set up so that you can easily enter in a price. The way to think about a profit map is like this. The yield map has quantities of things that were produced, and the applied rate maps have the quantities of things that were applied. So if I want to get costs and revenues, I need to multiply those amounts by whatever I'm going to earn for the corn that I sell or the cost of the input. So then what I can do is I can layer those together and subtract costs from my revenues to get profit on every part of my field. So I'm going to add these layers here, and you can run as many as you want. You can customize your maps. You can exclude or include, whatever layers you want. I'm just going to do a simple one here with yield and seed. So I'm going to set my seed price and my corn price to say $4, I'll set my seed price to say $3 per thousand seeds. And you could keep adding layers here if you wanted. One thing I'll mention for advanced users, we have a price converter as well that basically will allow you to put prices in one unit, say the units that you buy your seeds in, and then it'll convert automatically to match the units of your precision data. There's a few other options here that I won't get into, and like Mark mentioned, we also have this adapt plugin, so that if you want to convert adapt data and mix it together, you can also use those. But basically, the next step is it basically allows you to generate a profit map, and it only takes a few seconds to generate those profit maps. Basically, again, our goal here was just to make it as simple as possible. And so I'm going to go ahead and generate that map now. I pre-generated one for you to basically give you a viewpoint of it. And so what you can see here is that, there are some really common similarities to both the applied rate and the harvest map, but technically this is a different, it's a little bit different than either of those. And so what it does is it gives you the actual dollar amounts per acre that you're earning. So for example, if I go into, this part of the field here, I can see in this part of the field I'm actually losing money. I may even want to think about taking some of that out of production. In other parts of the field, I can definitely see, some contours from the elevation profile where I'm maybe making a little bit less. And then in some areas where I'm making a really good profit. So what you can do with these profit maps, and Elvis will go into more detail of analyzing these, is really start to drill down into, what happened and how well did the strategy work that I used, and then how to use that for planning into future years. And so this is really where I think the agronomic expertise comes into play, and just what we want to do is give users the ability to access and work with their data. So I'll stop on this part there and hand it back to you, Mark.
Thanks, Josh. As you mentioned, profit mapping is so important to evaluate what has worked and what's not working for an agriculture enterprise. And not only are you able to answer the question with your tools of what's the cost of production and revenue per acre, but more importantly, where am I being profitable and where can I make improvements that make the most impact? Now, we'd like to take this data to the field so a knowledge worker such as a crop consultant or an agronomist can visualize the data while doing some ground truthing. We want to review the results compared to the actual conditions in the field and collect any notes about what we see. Maybe there's a drainage issue or an irrigation issue that's impacting our yields, or maybe some other corrective action. Maybe we go out there and we see there's severe soil compaction from a previous year when the conditions weren't optimum to be out on the field, but we had to get the crop off and created those soil compaction issues. But we can see that in the field and really ground truth that data and the analysis that we've done in the office. And most importantly, it's that question of where and what we can do to help that producer or help our production out. So at this point, Elvis, I'd like to turn things over to you and have you show us how we can take the profit layer data that Josh generated, along with some other resources, and make that available for our mobile applications.
Awesome, thank you, Mark. So I'm taking this out to the field, and to do this, I want to introduce one of the field mobility applications that Esri is very proud of. So we're going to talk a little bit about field maps. And so on my screen, you should be seeing my iPad, and I'm getting ready to launch Field Maps, which it's really a single app solution that will allow you to explore maps, but explore your high accuracy data collections, as well as doing things like location tracking, work management, and just overall navigation. And it does feature both a mobile and a web app. So as I launch this mobile app, I'm immediately thrown out into the field. You can see my layers of interest. More importantly, you can see my location. So my blue dot right there is where I currently am on the field. Now, On the top right, I have options, a bunch of different functionalities, things like pulling up base maps and changing what the underlying base map looks like. But I also have access to a legend, which will show me all of the layers that I have in my map. Now I want to actually show you how you can use things like the markup. So we're focused on the top left corner there of the field. I'm just going to highlight that area with a markup, and then I'm going to prioritize it and just label that area so that when I come back here later, I know exactly where I need to do work. So I'm basically just creating a simple markup of that area. I'm just going to give it a color just so that I know where I'm focusing my attention. So just like that, I have access to that location. But in my layers, I can actually turn them on and off. So turn on my 2020 harvest. I'm going to turn on the profit layer, which we're going to use for this scouting exercise. But I'm also going to turn on my variety map, just to give me some idea of where the varietal zones are, as well as my tracks, because one of the things Field Map does is it allows me to track my location as well. So I could come back to that particular location. So as we zoom in and tap on that particular point of interest where we're going to do some scouting, we get some basic information about that particular point that had been pre-submitted in the office, and you can see who submitted that. But I want to actually do some work at this particular location. Now, if I'm in something like a cornfield where you might have 8-foot corn that's pretty high, I probably want to, one, navigate myself to that location to get there, but also get my bearings and sort of orientation. So I use the compass tool to make sure I know where I am. If I need to get to another particular point, I can also use this just to get my bearings and orientation. So really, really nice functionality here. But our goal is to actually do some scouting. So I'm going to go ahead and start my scouting, right? So I'm going to choose the name of the observer and the particular crop. In this case, we're going to be scouting for in a cornfield. General observations, maybe I have a list here and I'm going to choose something like infrastructure damage. And then I might make some general comments about what I'm actually seeing while I'm out there scouting. So this could be a pre-sorted out list, or it could just be comments that you type in, like maybe a broken sprinkler, or maybe more suited, something like broken irrigation system in this particular case. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that information, and then update my data for that particular location, and then change my scouting status from no to yes, and the point changes green to indicate I've scouted there. And then we're going to go ahead and submit the information, and just like that, all of that information gets pushed back to the office. And as you can see on the left there, I've got a nice details list of all of the information that we were just able to pick up. So in addition to that, I want to sort of reorient myself a little bit here. Just turn my map back so it's facing in the right direction. And then I want to show you those track layers one more time. So I can capture my tracks for today, or maybe I came in yesterday and I did some scouting work. I can pull up those tracks as well. But right now I'm just filtered to today's tracks. So just like that, I've been able to use field maps to gather all this information. I can take it and share it out with contacts on my device or other people within my organization. But what we want to do right now is switch back to the office. So I'm back at the office. I've collected all this information out in the field. Prior to going out, we created a nice little dashboard that will allow us to get a sort of executive view of all of this information that's being collected. So this is a really simple way to organize the data. You've got people out in the field collecting information. It's slowly coming in. You've got decision makers back in the office sitting in front of a dashboard or a desk and monitoring this information as it comes in. So we've created a couple of elements here that shows me the total number of observations, the ones that have been scouted versus those that have not been scouted. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and you can see the points that need to be worked on and ones that we've already collected information on, and there's the information that we captured there. And then a nice little list to give you some orientation for all the work that you're doing. Again, this list is clickable. I can click on it and you can see that location location on the map, click on that, and it highlights the location. But the dashboard's pretty powerful because it gives you the ability to, turn those layers on and off, right? I can turn off this harvest and really focus on the profit layer, which is what we used as the impetus for going out and scouting anyway, because we were scouting these areas in red where, based on Josh's analysis, we believe we may have lost some money. So this just shows you how you can tie all of this together and use this as a decision-making tool to engage your business and your stakeholders in terms of taking the right decisions and the appropriate actions. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mark, and he will close us out.
Thanks, Elvis. And I want to just take a moment to thank you, Elvis, for taking us through how you can perform some simple visualization and analysis of precision ag data with ArcGIS Pro, and how you can take that analysis and data and support other users across the enterprise, like I said, with this data and analysis. In this case, you showed how you were able to take the data and support some knowledge workers that need access to the data in the field for ground truthing, and also supporting the management team with some easy to configure dashboards. And Josh, I'd like to thank you for sharing the work that you're doing with Ag-Analytics to support ArcGIS users by bringing the ability to access precision agronomic data from the various different equipment manufacturers into ArcGIS, and also the custom agriculture specific analysis that you guys are supporting with profit mapping and all the other things that you're doing that we didn't get a chance to talk about today on the webinar with the add-in to ArcGIS Pro. So let's just review kind of quickly what we discussed and demonstrated today, and a little bit of information of next steps if people are interested in learning more and getting started with these tools. So ArcGIS provides a complete system to build a system of record for spatial data. You can quickly integrate precision data from John Deere Operations Center, Climate Field View, and Case NH, as well as also bring in any ag precision data files that are in the adapt data format. You can bring all that in directly with the Ag-Analytics add-in for ArcGIS Pro. ArcGIS enables users to visualize and perform custom analysis on agronomic data, all while maintaining the control and ownership of your data and not giving that to anybody else. You can analyze your precision ag data and evaluate field profits in ArcGIS Pro using the profit layers mapping system by Ag-Analytics. And ArcGIS supports the entire business for leveraging precision ag data and location analytics by delivering information products to the web and mobile applications for all different types of users to get access. So as far as kind of some next steps, I've got a link here on the slide. If you'd like to learn more about ArcGIS Pro, you can also get a free trial to ArcGIS Pro if you don't have it currently today, there at that link. And if you're interested in downloading and using the Ag-Analytics add-in for ArcGIS Pro, we've got a link there. It's profit.ag/Esri. So those are some additional resources that you can search out and learn more and get started. So if you have a question that you haven't submitted yet, I'd like at this time for you to go to the GoToWebinar dialog box and submit your question. And we'll here in a moment start to take those questions. If you'd like to get in contact with any of today's presenters, that information is provided here. If you didn't catch it at the beginning of the webinar, here's our email addresses. I've also added some resources for you to connect to the broader Esri agriculture community. We have a group within LinkedIn. If you do a search for Esri agriculture, that group will come up and you can subscribe, and we'll add you to that group. I've also added some information to the Esri website where we share some resources on the work that we do in agriculture, as well as the link to Ag-Analytics company website there as well. So at this point, we'd like to go ahead and get started with some questions. We'll go ahead and let me open those up now and kind of see where we're at. Just give me a moment here. So the first question, we'll address is, what level of desktop do you need to use this? I'll go ahead and start on the ArcGIS side as far as ArcGIS Pro, and then Josh, if you want to respond as to what's required from ArcGIS Pro, I'll let you follow up there. But really, to get started, visualizing the agronomic data and doing some simple analysis, the visualization type stuff that you saw Elvis do, that can all be done with our entry-level ArcGIS Pro licensing, which we call ArcGIS Pro Basic. So you can get started just with a basic version. Josh, as far as the add-in, I believe it works with Basic. Is there any requirement to have a higher licensing version of ArcGIS Pro to get started?
So just ArcGIS Pro Basic is all that's needed to get started, and the tools will work. All the tools will work in that. In terms of other licenses they may need, if your data are in one of those other platforms, you shouldn't even need paid subscriptions out of those, to our knowledge. So you can just integrate, go to the website, and you'll see how to integrate. So.
Yep. And the other thing I just want to mention just on the ArcGIS side, for folks that are familiar with our technology, while the entry level may be, entry level requirements just to get started is ArcGIS Basic, the way our family of technology works, there's additional licensing level that unlocks additional capability. And what that means is that there's just more and more analysis tools, analytic tools that you get with our software. The further up the ladder of licensing that you go on ArcGIS Pro. We have 3 licensing levels: basic, standard, and advanced. Basic is the entry licensing level. Advanced is the most capable functional analysis tools that we offer. And like I said, as you move up the ladder, there's greater analysis tools unlocked. We also provide extensions that add additional analysis capabilities. Just adds all kinds of spatial analysis, image analysis tools to the platform. And if you go to the website there, you can learn more about those capabilities and options. So our next question here, is this solution available now? And obviously with ArcGIS Pro stuff, yes, that's out. We've had that out for several years. Josh, what's the availability of the add-in for ArcGIS Pro from Ag-Analytics?
It's currently available. Just if you go to profit.ag/Esri, or just go to profit.ag on the front page, you'll see a link. And you can currently use it with, if you integrate your John Deere Operations Center, Climate Field View. By the way, you can do either Climate Field View version, I saw some questions on that, or CNH. And then you can also upload adapt files manually if you have those. So it's available right now.
Okay, awesome. Let's see. There's a question here on, let's see, as far as the data. So is the data exported to my local environment? Josh, you want to talk through just a little bit in terms of, as you connect to those different platforms, I guess just kind of where that data lives, or just what happens there, I guess.
Yeah, great question. So in the demo that I showed you, when you click download data and view data, basically those the data get processed and get downloaded to your actual machine. So if you have a file geodatabase or wherever you're keeping the rest of your data, it'll store it there. And then there's also sort of a background system that runs that checks. So if, let's say, you update your data in the John Deere Operations Center, it'll automatically sync on our platform. So the next time you come back, it'll basically give you a notice that that you need to click to re-download those data. I mean, there's some different advanced options around that, but essentially the data actually will get downloaded to wherever you want them to. So.
Okay, great. Let's see here. Got another question here. Can Ag-Analytics in ArcGIS Pro be used for livestock production? And if so, how would that work? I'll make a comment. We do at Esri, we have customers that manage livestock, and pasture management, rangeland management is a big deal. And much of the principles that you saw us apply on row crops, in this case, corn and soybeans, can be applied to livestock, especially in rangeland management and livestock management in that regard. I mean, they have very similar type issues in terms of pasture rotation, making sure that the pasture and rangeland's not overused, looking at areas that they may want to imply or build in conservation practices to kind of preserve pastures that are in rangeland that's not performing well. And so the principles that you saw here could certainly be applied to livestock production. Josh, are you guys doing anything specific around that area? I mean, I don't see. I mean, you could, from my perspective, you could have the profit layers basically built in to do that same kind of thing. It's just change your variables a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. If you have those data in layers, then yes. I wouldn't say that we specialize in livestock, but I would say get in touch with us, and we can always help you customize a solution potentially. In terms of other things, I mean, we just checked yesterday. We have support currently from our users and clients. We have over 159 crops as of last count that are supported in our system. So chances are that as long as you have precision data, that you'll be able to use this. So if that should extend everything to specialty, crops that are not just field crops. And we have lots of users that do different things from potatoes to mustard to everything else. So again, feel free to get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to walk through specific solution options for you as well.
Okay. Elvis, this question's for you. The Ag Scouting dashboard that was demonstrated, is that a template that's available? You want to just maybe just talk through just kind of quickly, kind of how you put that dashboard together and
Yeah, sure. It's not a template per se, but it's the ArcGIS dashboards are really simple configurable web apps. So to put something like what I showed together is really a matter of dragging and dropping the appropriate elements onto the dashboard, and then wiring it up with the appropriate data layers. So it's not a template per se that's available to download or anything, but the dashboard app is part of your ArcGIS purchase, especially if you're doing something like ArcGIS Online. And then the dashboard is highly configurable, and we can talk through that if you reach out to me directly.
Okay, very good. Josh, I will give this question to you, and it's a little bit on your roadmap for Ag-Analytics. As far as, are you guys planning to support Raven, data from Raven?
Sure. Yeah. I see a couple questions around that. What I would suggest is get in touch with us, and I can let you know about some options for that. But right now, I don't want to oversell something that we haven't completed yet. So, but what we currently have is John Deere Operations Center, CNH, Climate, and then you can use adapt files that you have locally. So that would be CN1 files, etc. But get in touch with us, and we can come up with solutions for you on anything else you might need. And I can tell you a little bit more about our roadmap. We have a lot of things underway right now. So
awesome, thank you. So a question on, I guess it's kind of specific to the add-in, as far as tutorials to use or learn that add-in? Are you guys providing or working on anything around that as far as how somebody would get up to speed? I mean, I know you guys have made that to be pretty straightforward and simple to use, but on the profit layer stuff, I'm wondering, if there might be something that you guys are doing around building some learning paths to use that.
Yeah, we do. So on our website at profit.ag, there's a help section, and we have a lot of videos. You can search different questions. And then also on the add-in site at profit.ag/Esri, we have a pretty extensive video that we put up there that has lots of examples. And then also we're always here for users. Just write us a message either through our website or email us directly, and we'll get someone on a video call with you and help you out with anything you need. So
okay, outstanding. And got a question here for you again, Josh, and I think this is probably going to be our last question as we kind of wrap things up here. Are there things like opportunity cost for land rent considered? And if so, how is that calculated?
Great question. So the answer is yes. There's in the tool, there's a place where you can enter in other costs. I didn't show you the advanced feature, but the price converter also allows you to set costs for things like land rent or insurance one time, and then let's say you have 50 fields you're working with, you can flow those down to some of your fields or all of your fields. And then in that price converter tool, there's a lot of other details as well, where we have options to do things like automatically approximate, the cost of field operations and field passes. And so I would say if you want to try integrating on the platform, you can try that for free. Then contact us and we can walk you through all the advanced options. But we work with a lot of precision specialists in designing those, and so it's pretty extensive. And so our theory on all of this has always been, let's make it so that it's easy to use. You don't have to enter in a bunch of things, but if you want to open the advanced tab and customize it, then you can do that. So I would say excellent question, and yes, please get in touch with us, and we'd love to walk you through those features. So.
Okay, well, Elvis and Josh, thank you so much again for joining me on the webinar today. We really want to thank everybody that did attend the webinar, taking the time out of your day to spend approximately an hour with us going through this. We certainly, like I said, appreciate your time. We hope you found this content to be useful, and we certainly look forward to hearing from you. If we didn't get a chance to answer one of your questions that you posed, we'll be following up with those. And like I said, we will be sending out a recording to this webinar, so you'll have an opportunity to go back and review something if you didn't catch it the first time that we went through it. So again, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to seeing everybody in the future.